You know what's so cool about your career is how varied it is, but I don't think, it's probably safe to say you haven't tackled anything this big before, at least in terms of anticipation. Do you approach it in a different way than your other films?
You learn with each film. The previous movie, Night and Day, with Tom Cruise and Cameron Diaz was a large film, and you learn things on each film about, as the scale increases and the size of your crew. I mean, all you have to do is take a look at the end credits of the Wolverine and have a sense of, my God, that's a lot of people. You learn how to manage your time, and you learn how to make sure. I think the biggest thing to master with films of scale that I don't think I would have been ready to do in my first couple films would be, how do you carry your own personal ideas and not let them get kind of run over by the kind of military-industrial complex that is a gigantic movie, because there's a kind of gravitational pull once one of these films engages that's pretty intense, and the way you do it is not unlike it's not unlike politics. You kind of need a manifesto. You need almost a kind of to repeat to everyone and evangelize a production philosophy that everyone can follow.
Can you talk a little bit about the collaboration with Hugh? Because obviously he's been playing the character for about 13 years, and I'm sure he's got several of his own ideas that he brings to the table.
Oh, of course. Well, the truth is that actors aren't puppets. So the fact is that I'm never about the business of trying to get them to do, if they would just do what I want them to do. I cast them for a reason. And also, though, I've worked with a lot of great actors, Hugh among them, in my life, and what I do, if anything, is steer. It's not like I'm trying to reinvent. They're there for a reason. I don't want them to be radically different. I can just steer. And I'm always thinking, they're inside the body and life and soul of their character. I'm always thinking about how it fits into the big picture of the movie. And so that's kind of the role we play for each other. I also have the good fortune of having made a film with Hugh Jackman before, so that we already when we fell on first day of this movie, we were already kind of in step with one another.
Obviously, there was another iteration of this before you came on board. Did any of that remain in this version that we see? And what were some of the challenges particular to that, coming on to something that was, maybe already emotion a little bit?
It really wasn't. I think that there was a script that was written even before Darren came on the movie. And then when Darren came on, I think that lasted only maybe 3 months before it evaporated. they had made a budget or planned how they were going to do anything and made some modest revisions to the existing script. But more so when I came on was the feeling that I thought, I wanted to make sure the movie was about something that I really understood and could put my finger on. And somehow, for me, the issue that I wanted somehow to explore in the movie that wasn't in there at that point was this whole issue of his mortality and immortality. And what's it like to love and live and lose almost everyone you've ever known or cared about, and to have to go on ad infinitum. What does that feel like? A lot of great films and stories as diverse as Wim Wenders' Wings of Desire or Isaac Asimov's story, The Bicentennial Man. I've always been interested in this idea of the hero or the god who somehow is immortal and is cursed with the never-ending life instead of blessed with it. And in the unique circumstance of Logan, he can't even get a way out, because if he tried to hurt himself, he'd heal.
Right, exactly. And that's what's kind of unique about this. It's not a typical superhero movie at all. It's sort of, it feels like a Western, feels like a samurai film, a noir. Were there any particular inspirations, either film or just something in general that you applied to?
Josie Wales was a big one. Many of the Kurosawa samurai films were often I thought about making the film. Westerns and samurai films are literally the same thing, with just swords and guns replacing one another. But for me, it was very much the opportunity to I think of those as superhero movies too. I think that the way you're defining superhero movie is almost this kind of modern affectation in which it kind of becomes about saving the earth always.
Yeah, right.
And I'm not so sure, when I read comics, they weren't always about saving the earth. So they were actually more like Westerns and samurai films, blood feuds, revenge sagas, love, revenge, hatreds dating back into the past. there was a lot of other stuff present in those kind of comic books than I see. I think we've almost, in the effort to be tentpole films, I think there's been this effort to raise the stakes to the point where the stakes could never be higher. And I do find sometimes it's a cheat. You know, it's instead of getting the audience to care about the characters, you get the audience to worry about their own survival, because if the hero doesn't stop whatever's going on, then we'll be dead.
Explodes.
Yeah, so it's so it seems to me like kind of an odd cheat. What we set out to do was to make a movie where you're not at risk. The characters you care about on the screen are at risk, and do you stay invested anyway?